Well, let's see if we can have another conversation, a continuing conversation about the dynamics of speaking the truth. One of the drawbacks to this conversation is that there isn't any, obviously, there's no language for something that's brand new. And this is brand new, the actual living from creation and intelligence and truth, rather than living our lives where we have been stuck for thousands of years from knowledge and thought and belief. The beginning of that possibility, of course, has to do with us being what we are now and the observation of what we are now. And what we are right now are robotic human beings. My heater just went off, so hopefully that sound went away from the background. Forgot to turn it down so it wouldn't. Anyway, my stupidity gets me again. So the possibility for any, let's call it structural improvement for the lack of a better description, always starts with what do we have now? And as I was about to say, what we have now is we're stuck in knowledge, thought, and belief as to what's bringing forth life on planet Earth right now, which means as long as it's knowledge and thought and belief, we're repeating our history over and over. If you've listened to these, the first two, then you'll think I'm being repetitious here. That's because I am. So the possibility for discovering the dynamics of speaking the truth starts with speaking the truth, which means to say where we are now, stuck in knowledge, thought, and belief. That observation itself will destroy, end, erase, eradicate our living from knowledge and thought and belief, and create a new possibility for us to begin speaking with one another, first with ourselves, of course, with ourself, the truth. And as with anything, one of the dumbest things you can hear people say is, if you want to be with me, then you got to be with me just like I am. You got to accept me the way I am. So there they are, a violent person who votes for war and killing and rapes and living a world that goes from war to war to war, yelling, take me as I am. Well, that's important, actually, to see them as they are, including ourselves first, of course, and the observation of the flaw. And of course, as I've said, the observation of our flaw now is the continuation of living over and over our last few thousand years. Of course, we put a new dress on it, new pair of shoes, buy a new coat and a hat. So it will look to be new, but it won't be new. It'll be war, 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 and then war. Ever doing the same thing over and over, getting the same results over and over, and calling them something different or something new. Crazy, isn't it? So what is it that you yourself can create? Might be to create creation, create the ability or the space from which to create. Of course, create means to bring forth from nothing, so it might be better that you say, I create nothing. But then again, there's no language for this, so then when you say I create nothing, then what do you mean? Oh, wait a minute, that's nothing, and it is nothing. But the bright side to bringing forth your life from nothing is you're not bringing your life forth from what you've always brought it forth from. You're not bringing it forth anymore from Jesus and the Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and the wars and guy tells you he grabs women between the legs and you elect him. The silliness is way beyond being able to explain, And it's because when I say something like that, if I say something truthful about God belief, for instance, God belief is like all beliefs. Belief blocks intelligence. So if you have a belief of any sort, then you've blocked your intelligence. And if you have God belief, then you block the intelligence needed to observe if there is a God or not, and if there is one, what is the manner in which to live. Because in essence, belief is larger than God in the God belief domain of activity, I mean. So my first two conversations series about the dynamics of speaking the truth failed. And here I am, right in the middle of failing again. So what I'm going to do is just continue right on. Because in every failure, there's a little bright spot. In the whoever listens to these, let's say 100 people were to listen, then perhaps one of that 100 would start to catch what it is that I'm pointing towards. And that's the person I'm speaking with, that one person. So the rest of you can be that one person. How about that? So the dynamics of speaking the truth has many benefits. The first one is, when you speak a truth, you end a belief, and it takes negative energy, if you will. It takes negative energy to hold on to a belief, because a belief is in a dream world, or it lives in a dream world. It is the assumption, it is the idea, it is the guess, the opinion frozen, that it's the truth. When it isn't, it's a belief. So when you speak the truth about one of your beliefs, you release energy. And that energy that you release gives you the energy needed to speak a new truth. And every time you reinforce your belief, you kill your natural ability for the use of intelligence, because belief freezes itself. And so somebody comes along and says, this is the truth, and you have this belief, you say, oh no, because I believe that this is it. 7 million, well, in the case in America, 70 million people believe that God sent a new Jesus, and he's named Trump. And the reason they sent him, because that sissy guy that kept saying turn the other cheek hasn't worked. So the new Jesus says hit back 5 times as hard as you're hit. And now the religious people, oh man, this is it. Hit him back, get revenge. So if you can actually see this possibility that truth removes your belief. Removing your beliefs increases your energy level, not because it necessarily creates more energy, but because it releases the energy that you had to have to hold on to a dream, to a belief. It started off obviously as an opinion, and then when you add to the fact that you could never be wrong, when you add that to your opinion, then suddenly your opinion freezes. And when you have a frozen opinion, that's a belief. Even a belief can be thought out, but boy, you almost have to have a brick to your head to waken you to say, wait a minute, so that you can see the truth. Because the truth has no violence. It has no force. The truth only has energy. That energy is only there as a dormant, if you will, energy, as long as you believe something, because it has to be behind the force of energy, the force of belief, I mean. When belief manifests, intelligence takes a back seat because it has no force. It can't step up and say, hey, dumbass, here, and start hitting you on the head like belief can. Belief says, if one gun doesn't kill enough people, two guns will kill enough people. And if we kill enough people, then we can have freedom. Belief never says, wait a minute, if we gain our freedom through the use of guns and bombs, bullets, then we have to keep using guns and bombs and bullets to keep our freedom. That's not freedom. That's not freedom. That's violent, controlled chaos. And you have to continue the violence and the control and the chaos in order to have this stupid thing that you call freedom, when actually to be free means never the need for a bullet, never the need for a gun, you don't even have to rape women. Pardon me, Donald Trump, I hate to break this bad news to you. So if you truly care to discover the dynamics of speaking the truth, you'll discover that you'll then be let me see if I can get out of trouble with the religious people. You'll be an angel. You see, you'll be an angel because you just tell the truth and you let the chips fall where they may. And also your life will begin to work because you will have an orderly mind. You won't have to remember all those beliefs that you have and all those lies you told to hold on to the beliefs and all those people that gather around you because you have the same belief as they. You gather around how many guns you're going to buy. Well, I got to go to church on Sunday, and then Monday we can get together and buy us a couple of AK-47s to make sure that those people do what we tell them to do because, we're religious people and we know what's best for everybody. So if you truly have gotten this far, then you might consider that the entry point, the window, the door, the opening to the truth, which is creation, intelligence, and truth, the space of heaven, getting back into this. I got to get back in there. They're probably mad at me by now. Anyway, if you discover what heaven is, then you'll discover it's within you. That discovery begins when you begin to speak the truth. And then if you continue speaking the truth, you'll discover the universal truth, which is true for everybody, no matter what opinion or belief you have. And then you'll already be in heaven. You don't have to wait till you die to be in heaven. So I'm right at about 14 minutes now. You tell me that attention span is not very long, so I better shut up. Although crazy people I got to say one other thing. Sometimes I click on other videos to see how other people do this because I'm not good at it. I just come on and do a video. And I clicked on his video. The guy stood up there and he said, 21 million people around the world listen to this broadcast. It was on, I think, BBS radio, or they say radio, but it's on the internet. I thought, 21 million people listen to this guy. What has he got to say? He said, and today our guests are Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, and who's that guy that was John F. Kennedy. We'll have seance with each of those. And I said, 21 million. I clicked off. Anyway, I had to tell you that funny story because now you know where all the listeners are. They're seancing with Washington, and who owned Washington owned 300 slaves. So he traded, bought, sold, raped slaves during his time off, but when he was at work, all men are created equal. And same thing with that Jefferson guy. Well, many of our early congressmen and presidents and Republicans, Democrats owned slaves. And they yelled, all men are created equal. Crazy, huh? A perfect experience of discovering for yourself the dynamics of speaking the truth. You also find out it's not real popular. There was one guy did it. They hung the guy a couple thousand years ago. See you later.